Oh,
Welcome. Welcome everyone to the Law, Your Money and You. This is the second segment of our interview with beautiful, wonderful Rachel Waterman, who is in Brazil. And Rachel, we needed to have you back because we didn't finish. And the main thing is you started to tell us a little bit about yourself, and that's all you got out was a little bit about yourself. So we
then we took over.
yeah, and we all took over. Especially, I have a habit. I interrupted myself. But anyway, I want to go back to your background. We did get in about the mayor of Lake Worth, but how about that you worked? You're in Brazil now, but how about leading up to it? How you were in the Peace Corps? Tell us about that.
Yes, I started my career as a volunteer in the Peace Corps. I spent 3 years in a small village up in the mountains in the Dominican Republic, where I became fluent in Spanish and worked with farmers associations and the local schools on various community development projects, including training for local farmers and environmental education. I wrote environmental education curriculum for the textbooks for the country. Actually, it was adopted into the textbooks for the whole country. And I worked with the local youth group, and we built the region's first playground, which is, they sent me some pictures of it just a few months ago. They've continued to work on it. It has a full basketball court with lights, and they've completely redone the playground. I felt very, very proud to see that they've maintained the project and even made it better over the years.
Have you ever gone back there since then?
I went back in 2000, so about 4 years after completing my service.
Right.
I completed my service in 1996, and I went back in 2000, but I haven't been back since then. I really would love to go back and take my children so they could see what I did and where I was. And
Let me ask you a question, because I think this is going to be important to where we're going with this taping today. What inspired you to go into the Peace Corps?
Oh, good question.
Wow, it's a good question. I wish I had a good answer. I don't know. I grew up always knowing I wanted to go into the Peace Corps and be a Peace Corps volunteer. I don't know where it came from. It was always with me. I got interested in development and community development, and specifically development in the lesser developed world when I was in college. I got my undergraduate degree in political economy of development. And so it was a career move in many ways. And I had always wanted to be fluent in Spanish. I had studied Spanish all through school. And so for me, it was sort of, it made sense. It brought together a lot of things I was interested in. And I got to travel. And so it was really perfect for me. I got to be of service, travel, learn Spanish, and practice my field all at the same time.
Did it give you any, did it kind of direct you into the field of nonprofits in any way?
In a little bit. I had originally thought I wanted to, work for the State Department. I knew I wanted to do something in traveling and in development. And so I had been steered toward the State Department. I had taken the State Department Foreign Service exam. And but when I served as a Peace Corps volunteer, I actually realized I did not want to work in the Foreign Service, because the Foreign Services officers are really discouraged from creating relationships with locals. And that was really the antithesis of what I was looking for out of my travel experiences. So I wanted to be free to create relationships with people and not have that barrier of having to maintain a distance, so that I could maintain impartiality to work for the government.
It's all about the relationship, though, isn't it?
I'm sorry. I have the benefit of your resume here, which is unbelievable. You have a master's in community and economic development. So tell us did you need that, or you wanted it, or
not before Peace Corps. I actually went to Peace Corps with just a bachelor's degree, and actually wrote my first grant when I was in Peace Corps. Peace Corps was the kind of environment where if you wanted to do something, you could do whatever you wanted as long as you could find the money to make it happen. And so while I was in Peace Corps, I was working with a farmers association, And if you know me, I'm not a big fan of touching dirt or anything like that. So the best way that I could be of service to the farmers was to bring them access to resources and information. And so I actually wrote a grant to send some of the farmer leaders to a Japanese agricultural center in another part of the country for them to learn some advanced agricultural techniques. So that was my first entrance into grant writing. So I wrote that grant. I also wrote another grant to help with the youth group to Save the Children. So I actually got a grant from World Vision and from Save the Children while I was a Peace Corps volunteer to bring resources into that village where I was assigned. And I still, at that point, didn't realize that grant writing was really going to be any special part of my life. It was just a means to an end for me at that point. Really, I was focused on implementing my projects. Then after Peace Corps, I returned back to the United States. I did work for a few years in New York and doing education with Latino communities. And then I went to grad school for my master's in community economic development. I went to a program that was specifically for returned Peace Corps volunteers. It was a fellowship program that allowed me to go to get my master's degree for free. And they also then assigned us for 1 year to a development project in the United States. So it was an opportunity to see what development is like from the American side of things.
It was in Illinois, right? Illinois.
In Illinois, yes.
Sorry, not even saying it right. Illinois.
Just outside of Chicago. Yes. So it was Illinois State University. It's the
Stevenson Center.
Stevenson Center. Yes.
Fellow.
For applied community economic development.
Yeah, not everybody can get into that. You're super bright. A lot of people think you go to the Peace Corps, you know, because you can't do anything else, but that's not so. You have to be.
No, it's highly selective, actually. It's very selective to go, as my dad used to say, I was going to go dig trenches, which I never did.
Sounds like him.
But there was quite a line of people to go dig trenches.
And you're also a certified fundraising executive and certified grant professional. So that's even more. Tell us about that. How do you get certified, Mary?
Those are professional certifications that I've recently attained. I got my CFRE year before last, and then last year I got my GPC. When I returned to the United States after grad school, I was recruited by the government in Palm Beach County to lead their redevelopment efforts for all of the unincorporated areas of Palm Beach County. My job was to work with residents in those neighborhoods and develop redevelopment plans that the neighbors themselves approved of, like work with them to create redevelopment plans and then work with the county to get them implemented. So I worked for Palm Beach County for a few years, and then after that I left Palm Beach County to be executive director of a few local nonprofits, that were doing community-based work. And as an executive director, I found myself having to write grants because if we wanted to get they were small nonprofits, so I didn't have a development office. I didn't have a full-time grant writer. So I, as the executive director, ended up writing the grants. And you know, if we wanted to get our projects implemented, we needed to find the money to do it. So I started to write grants, and I started to have some really amazing success at it. So as I got more and more success and more confidence about writing the grants, I also got stuck writing more and more of the grants. So, I
apply to?
Bank foundations, private foundations. The last organization that I was executive director of was a community development corporation, and we were focused on doing single-family home development, infill redevelopment in less advantaged, disadvantaged neighborhoods. So we were building homes and putting people into them, as well as some other community facilities. So I was going after grants that would allow for development itself. So bank foundations, some private foundations, and a lot of government grants. government grants from Department of Housing and Community Development and Department of Community Services, things like that. So county grants and federal grants. And then
I can't believe we cut you off of that last time. I wanted to tell too, they want to know about how you met your husband and what he does, and we want to talk
how I met my husband. Well, actually, in my spare time, I did more community development work. So in my off hours, while I was working for the county, I had started an outdoor movie. What do you call it? It wasn't a movie festival. It was an ongoing outdoor movie night on a vacant lot in downtown West Palm Beach, in a part of the city that was not yet redeveloped. It was still quite rough, and there was a vacant lot on the main street, and we got permission from the city of West Palm Beach, and the city library helped us buy the equipment. And once a week, we started projecting avant-garde, foreign, and classic films on the wall in this vacant lot downtown to try to bring people into downtown, because this was 2001, and the downtown renaissance really hadn't happened yet. People were still moving out to the suburbs. And we had created this as a project to bring people back into downtown. So people would come with wine and snacks and watch a wonderful movie on the wall. I personally loved it because we had executives and homeless people sitting on the same plot of grass, all sharing, food and time together. And the artist community knew about the movies on the wall. And I was working there one evening doing the movie. And when I was done cleaning up from the movie, a friend of mine who had, an artist friend of mine, a painter who had a local studio, had come to watch the movie. And I heard her call out to me. And when I walked over, she was having dinner with my now husband across the street. They had come out to the movie. And then they had come over to say hello to me. And she introduced me to him. And there he was. And that was it. I don't think we've really ever been apart since then. It was 20 years ago almost.
Is he there? Why don't you have him tell us what he does?
So what does he do?
The talented family. Hey.
Hi.
Besides meet women on the street, what do you do?
Absolutely. Great. I make sure she drinks water. I make her have a nice lunch. Yes.
Isn't Yuri how you ended up in Brazil? Yuri, aren't you from Brazil?
No, actually, it was the opposite way. Rachel, when she met me, she said, well, I have a Brazilian husband. Let's go to Brazil. I said, no, honey, I have a plan of 5 years here to finish some sculptures, do some sculptures in cities and museums. So I can go now. And she looked at me and she said, if you're going to do all of that, you're going to be the time you're 50, not the time you're 35. And I'm just arrived to, 5 months ago. And guess what? Rachel was right. I'm 48. 50.
48.
Yeah. And
your voice is breaking up. Maybe you could get a little closer to the phone.
Yeah. So in the reality, I'm back to Brazil because Rachel, she, by the time the kids are like 9 years old, she told me, let's go to Brazil once again for the second time.
6.
And yeah.
So I had read that children's brains are mostly formed by the time they're 6, 7 years old. And I wanted my children to be completely native speakers in at least 2 languages. And so I was very desperate to have them speaking fluently, and they were not learning it fluently in the home. And they had no one with whom to practice their Portuguese. They couldn't even really communicate with their grandparents. And so Yuri's dad was getting older. He got sick, and the kids were getting older. They were 6 and 7. And I said, Yuri, I'm sorry if you're not ready to go to Brazil, but I am.
And
I did, and I left. So 5 years ago, the kids were 7 and 8, and I left. I came to Brazil without him.
Yeah.
and left him in the United States to finish whatever it was that he was doing.
Yeah. And I'm here. Yeah.
So I moved back to Brazil by myself.
What a
With the
story.
kids.
Yeah. So it's amazing. Yeah, Rachel, one time she was in Florida visiting, and she showed her phone, and she told me, look, my American phone almost didn't ring at all, and my Brazilian phone is really busy. She got a lot of friends here.
Oh, the Brazilian phone was ringing.
Wow.
Yes.
And so how long have you been there now?
I've been here for 5 years. The children have been here for 5 years, and Yuri just got here in December.
Oh, nice. Really?
Because I made him get here in time for our son's bar mitzvah.
Yes,
Good.
And thank God for coronavirus, he hasn't been able to leave.
No, but I'm not going anywhere.
Talk about how it is in Brazil with the coronavirus.
Well, any foreign nationals from Brazil are not allowed into this country now.
Yes, I know. What the difference for Brazil is getting worse now with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
But we don't actually live in the continent of Brazil. We live in the island, you know, and the island is pretty safe, and it's really, they taken very good care of what they have to do to keep the whole city in good shape. So we are not in any dangers.
There are cases, but it's still under control. The hospitals are not over capacity.
Yeah.
Everybody's wearing masks. They take your temperature when you go into the stores and the restaurants.
Yeah. Actually, we are doing a little road trip right now, and when you come from a little town to the next little town, they actually stop in the cars, taking the temperature, make sure you have masks.
They wouldn't let us in the town even.
They don't even let you off the road. Yeah. So
That's good. What about the rest of Brazil? What is contributing to such a high rate now?
we know the feeling that Brazilians have, you know, even this morning, what I hear people talking about, as they're politicizing also here the infection. You know, the pro-government has one message, and the people,
the
anti-government have a different message. So we don't really know what is true.
It's hard to sift out the facts from just the, you know, the alternate messaging there.
Yes, and I think what's happening here is similar to what's happening elsewhere, in that the city that's been most hardest hit, at least according to the news, is a city that's very underdeveloped, that doesn't have the same level of resources. It says other cities, the city itself isn't poor, but it's a big city in a poor area of the country. So you're already dealing with people who don't have access to healthcare, maybe don't have access to quality information sources. They're living closer together. It's a hot area. So like where we live, it's cold. You see, I'm all bundled up. It's cold down here, and people, you know, they close their doors, they live inside, they can stay in. There's smaller family sizes.
Yeah.
So the problem, I think, is that we're seeing that this virus is showing us what happens with inequalities, socioeconomic, economic inequalities. And it's really exacerbating those inequalities. And it's the same thing that's happening here in Brazil.
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, that's kind of something we wanted to ask you about, because of your affiliation with nonprofits. How has that changed even more the demand for funding for nonprofits so that they could help their populations?
It's a great question. Demand is up. Demand is really up, and fundraising is unknown at this point. Nonprofits have even more needs than they had before. Just to run their same programming, there's, in order to comply with CDC guidelines and government decrees, that it all impacts you fiscally. It costs money to implement all these things, temperature screenings and sanitizing over and over again. some of my clients have forced reductions in their how many people they can serve. Sometimes that affects their funding, how much they get paid by head served, or there's a participant fee involved, and all of that has stopped. So
Are your clients mostly in the United States or in Brazil too?
All of my clients are in the United States right now.
I got a question I want to see the children. These children are worthy of being interviewed. We want to see how it's impacted them. So send them over.
Hold on one second.
Yeah. These kids, and it's interesting. So is the temple on your island? Is the temple on your island? And
Yes.
you have all kinds of, there he is.
Oh, there he is. Hi, Avi.
Avi.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Oh,
And
there's
there's Lily.
Liliana.
Hi,
We want
Lily.
to ask you kids how this coronavirus has changed your life as far as school goes. Probably
It's just,
the other question. What?
and we don't go to school. It's online, and they gave our vacation 2 weeks earlier.
No, much earlier. It was supposed to be in July, and it's right now they're on school vacation. They're having their winter vacation now, and instead of in July. That's why we're on this little mini road trip.
Because
It's our only
winter
opportunity to get out of the
vacation.
house.
Usually winter vacation is on the end of July when it snows up where our road trip is.
Yeah.
But now it's not, and it's just a little bit colder. No, a little bit warmer. And we're up nearby Argentina, because it comes this way.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And how do you like living in Brazil?
What?
How do you like living in Brazil?
It's very nice, very comfortable.
Do you like speaking 2 languages or do you speak 3 now?
I speak only 2.
I
Oh.
speak, but
How about
I understand a little bit of French and Spanish.
Oh,
Yeah.
French. Do they teach you French there also?
No.
No,
4 languages.
the only foreign language in Brazil is English.
But they have a lot of friends from Argentina, so they hear Spanish a lot. And we're
Oh.
close.
Because you're near Argentina?
Yes,
This
there's a
is
lot of Argentine
fascinating.
tourists, so they
Yeah.
hear a lot.
Hmm.
And we have Italian, so they hear
Yeah.
Italian a lot
So
as
it's
well.
all Romance languages. Avi, you've done
Yeah.
some pictures for the Lawyer Money and You. You're very talented.
Thank you.
Where's the new pictures? Yeah, he's been doing them since, what, for 3 years now? Is
I
it?
don't know.
What about Liliana? Liliana, you got to have some talents there. What do you like to do?
I'm totally dramatic.
Get a little close, Liliana, can you get a little closer to the phone?
Say it again.
I like acting.
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 What kind of acting do you like to do?
I like theater more.
Mm-hmm. Have you been in any productions recently?
Well, the most recent one I was in was the graduation one of the 6th grade when I was in the 5th grade. It was 6th grade graduation. I was in
What was
the production was The Yellow Face by Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes one, and it was supposed to be for the 6th grade, but a lot of kids in the 5th grade were a part of it.
And are you in the 6th grade now?
Yes.
Are you studying for a bat mitzvah?
No.
Oh.
No.
But because the coronavirus stopped. That's
Yeah.
the
Oh, the
reason.
coronavirus stopped, so that stopped too. Are there any activities that you did at school that you miss because of the coronavirus?
Yes. I was supposed to go on a school trip to a beach you have to hike up to get to, and we didn't go yet.
I had 3 trips planned because the 6th grade was the year that you got the most trips. And I had 3 trips planned in a row in the month that it happened to destroy our school.
What?
And I missed all of my theater things, and this was the year that I was going to get to do more theater. And I'm missing a lot of fun.
You got a lot of fun.
And the youth group activity canceled. Lily also participates in a Jewish youth group, and all of their activities have been canceled recently.
That's nice. So religious freedom is okay in where you are.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. We live in a very diverse community. There's Muslims,
But it's principally Catholic.
Come on, a little closer.
Yeah, you're
Classic.
breaking up.
Go ahead.
Catholic.
Yeah,
Mostly everybody here is Catholic.
yeah, I can understand that, given the region of the world that you're in. Sure.
Is Yuri doing anything with his sculpturing there? Or is he limited?
We're in the studio right
Huh?
Studio.
Oh, he's over there.
over here.
Get in front of the camera. You are.
Well, right now I'm building a major studio here in Florianopolis. I bought 2 containers with 28 pounds of equipment, each one, to build this studio. So, and that's almost ready.
Great.
Do a sculpture. How tall is the sculpture going to be?
Well, the how tall 8 meters sounds
24 feet.
24 feet.
4 feet.
No kidding. Wow.
Studio, I can build sculptures up to 25 feet tall.
No
Got the-
kidding.
Yeah, we got the sculpture corners, and I also brought 2 big pieces from United States, Saphire. It's in the Museum of Earth, Ithaca, New York, and Infinity also.
Wow.
So I brought those
Send us
pieces.
pictures of some of these when it's done.
Yeah. And I'm actually the fact here in Brazil we have a little bit more land than we have in Florida. So not only I gonna have a bigger studio and better, but I'm also able to build a studio for Rachel, Avi, and Liana. They're gonna have their own studio for themselves.
Great.
Yeah.
So they'll have their own studio?
They have their own studio.
Oh.
Yeah, all of
For-
it. And,
That's fantastic. That's
yeah,
fantastic. Isn't that,
Liliana,
Rebecca, do you
Liliana.
have anything you wanted to ask?
I can't wait. What?
Really? No. It's just fascinating that you're doing that, you're building that, and I'd love to see some of the work that you do.
Absolutely.
That's kind
I
of
just
idea.
Up here, I have a piece, but Rachel,
That's a
we're
timer.
going to wind down. Camille,
Still good.
there's a very important question. Rachel, would you say you get any of your talent and brains from your aunt?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
No, must be growing up in Somerset.
Water.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. What a delightful family you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
So talented in every way.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you again for joining us. It's been a real privilege to talk with you and your family, Rachel.
It has. You are an absolute delight.
Yes, the
Look,
wonderful
you
things
don't
you've
have any
done.
more on your resume. We'd never get off.
We're going to send pictures from our road trip we're on.
Oh, lovely.
Oh,
We
yeah,
have
it's
pictures
on
here.
there.
That'll be great. Thank
We're
you so much.
almost at the end, and the connection is fading anyway. Camille, you want to wrap it up?
Sure, let me wrap it up. Thank you again for the whole family there. It's been a delight. And to our, to our viewers who are seeing us on camera, please let us know if you have any other ideas for topics related to the coronavirus, because it's a very important way that we're paying tribute to the people who do good or need help during this time.
Tell them how they can contact Rachel.
Sure. How can they contact you, Rachel?
They can contact us at 1-800-308-4840. or www.gdsgrants.com.
Terrific. Or you can send us an email and we'll make sure that it gets to Rachel. So thank you again. If you have any questions or any other ideas, please let us hear from you, because remember, this is your show, the law, your money, and you.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Love
Very
you.
nice.
Rachel, you were just so beautiful, beaming. And Yuri, it's great to see you.
You're so sweet.
That's true. Okay, I got to figure out how to get out of this now.
Thank you so
Go.
Thanks so much.